Hello. I've been told my videos need a stronger hook in the first 10 seconds. Everything you were taught about the invention of money is a story one guy made up in 1776, and he never once checked if it was true. This video is for entertainment and educational purposes, and yes, it is fully human researched. Back when I used to get into it with people in finance comment sections, the argument that came up constantly was some version of, quote, money was invented because barter was inefficient, end quote. People would say cavemen traded chickens for grain sacks until someone smart invented coins to fix the hassle. I want to dive into this correctly. So first, a quick lesson on where this story actually comes from. In 1776, a Scottish philosopher named Adam Smith published a book called The Wealth of Nations. In it, he described a hunter trading bows and arrows for venison, and he argued that this trading instinct, buying, bartering, swapping, is built into human nature, and that money was invented purely to make that swapping easier. This is the version taught in nearly every intro economics class on Earth. There's just one problem with it. Smith didn't get this from field research, he got it from his imagination. Anthropology, as an actual discipline of going out and checking what humans really did, didn't exist yet. He was a philosopher telling a logical story, not a historian reporting a fact. So people believed it for over 100 years. Then, in the 1920s, anthropologists actually started looking for it, not theorizing from a chair going to stateless societies and watching how people really exchange things. And here's the part that should have ended the debate immediately. They couldn't find it. Not once. Not anywhere. No tribe, no village, no isolated society running its daily economy on direct swaps between strangers. What they found instead was gift-giving. Debt favors people kept a mental tab on. A researcher named Marcel Mauss documented this in 1925 in a study called The Gift Reciprocal Exchange Systems, not Spot Trade Barter. But the researcher who really closed the case was a Cambridge anthropologist named Caroline Humphrey. In 1985, she reviewed the entire global ethnographic record and landed on a conclusion so blunt, it's basically the mic drop of economic anthropology. Nobody anywhere has ever documented a pure barter economy, and every scrap of evidence suggests one never existed at all. And here's the twist that makes it worse for the textbook version. When barter does show up historically, it tends to appear after a money system collapses. Parts of Europe after Rome fell, for example. Barter didn't come before money, it came after money broke. So if barter didn't invent money, what did? Let's talk about clay. Around 8000 BC, right as agriculture is taking off in the Near East, people start using small clay tokens to keep count how much grain is owed, how much livestock is stored, who's holding what. An archaeologist named Denise Schmant-Besserat spent decades proving these tokens are the direct ancestor of writing itself. By roughly 3200 BC, in a city called Uruk, this tracking system becomes the earliest written records on the entire planet proto-cuneiform tablets. And here's the detail that should stop you. Those tablets are not receipts for trades. They are debt records. Who owes the temple grain? Who owes the palace silver? Who owes labor? And for how long? Let me draw this out with a hypothetical really quick. Say you're a farmer in Uruk, and your neighbor is a potter. You need a jug. He doesn't need wheat this week, his own harvest is fine. Under the barter myth, this transaction simply can't happen. No double coincidence of wants, no trade. But that's not how it actually worked. He gives you the jug anyway. The temple scribe writes it down. You owe him. Maybe you pay him back in grain next season. Maybe in labor. Maybe the debt just sits there, tracked, remembered, until it's convenient to settle. Nobody needed money to change hands at all. They needed someone to remember. Silver in this economy wasn't a coin jingling in a pocket, it was a unit written on a tablet, used to price the debt. So, just to recap, Smith's story says, direct swapping came first, and money fixed it. The anthropological record says the opposite. Debt and record keeping came first, and coins showed up roughly 2,500 years later, around 700 BC, in a kingdom called Lydia, ledger before coin, memory before metal. Now here's the human story buried in this, and it's the part people skip. Because these were debt systems, ancient rulers understood something modern finance conveniently forgot. Debt that compounds forever eventually crushes a society. Hammurabi, king of Babylon, ruled from roughly 1792 to 1750 BCE, and historians have established that during his reign there were 4 separate general debt cancellations, full resets, wiping slates clean so debt bondage didn't become permanent slavery. His code even capped debt servitude at 3 years. This wasn't charity, it was maintenance. A society running on remembered obligation has to periodically forget, or the whole system chokes on itself. Why are we so sure money is a market invention now? That's a genuinely good question, and honestly, this is where economists actually still argue. There are two real camps here, and I want to be fair to both instead of pretending one side obviously won. Camp 1, the credit view. Humphrey, later popularized hard by anthropologist David Graeber in his 2011 bestseller Debt, The First 5,000 Years, says institutions, temples, states come first, and coins are just a later formalization of a debt system that already existed. Camp 2, the commodity view, goes back to economist Carl Menger in 1892. Menger argued that even in a fully decentralized market with zero government involvement, traders would naturally converge on whichever good is easiest to resell. Gold, cattle, salt, and that good becomes money on its own, no temple required. And critics of Graeber, economists like Robert Murphy and George Selgin, make a fair point. Menger was never claiming actual barter marketplaces existed. He was describing a logical model of what would happen if barter were tried, which isn't actually incompatible with credit systems showing up first in practice. I have to be honest, there's a real weak spot on the credit first side too. It never fully explains why gold and silver became the dominant money almost everywhere, independently, when salt, cattle, even cowrie shells were right there as options. And here's the truth. Nobody has fully solved that, so we're not going to pretend this is settled. But here's what both sides quietly agree on. Modern money, the dollar in your banking app, is not valuable because there's gold sitting in some vault. It's valuable because an institution and millions of strangers agree to remember and honor the debt it represents, which means something crazy. A temple scribe in Uruk and your banking app today are doing the exact same job, just 5,000 years apart. Think about that. We've spent over 5,000 years running economies on remembered obligation, physical coins, only about 2,500 years, and pure barter as the starting point of economies, 0 years. So next time someone says money exists because cavemen got tired of trading chickens, pause and picture this instead. A clay tablet in Uruk recording a debt. So two strangers wouldn't have to trust memory alone. Sources are in the description. Okay, bye.